Hey guys, it's Blake here, and today I want to talk to you about 5 ways that you can invest in real estate without any prior experience and buy your first property. So in real estate, there's a million different ways to make $1 million, and that's the reason 678 why I love real estate so much. It's because you can model the success of others that have come before you in real estate. It's a replicable process and nothing is really new in the space. So that's what I love about it. You can just jump right in. So it really is a strategy that anybody can do, but let's talk about how. So I have people ask me all the time, Blake, how do I get started investing in real estate? You know, I'm not interested in multifamily, or maybe I feel like I'm not ready to get there yet. And that's what I focus on, is commercial multifamily. But for those people just trying to get into real estate, to start to see those benefits, to see passive income and the cash flow and everything else, to watch that property gain in value over time, all those things that attract people into real estate in the first place, they just want to know how to get started. So instead of answering that question a bunch of times, I thought I'd put it all in one post and help people that have that question. How do I just get started? How do I get my first property? Where do I go from zero, from no experience? That's what we're going to talk about today. So if you're liking the content so far, take your finger and just do a little click right there on the like button and subscribe if you want to keep seeing more good stuff like this. First strategy is called house hacking. And house hacking is where you buy an investment property, but you live in it and then rent out the other units. And think duplex, triplex, quadplex, or it can even be a single family house where you rent out all the bedrooms, or even like I got started with an extra unit that we rented on Airbnb. So all those would be considered house hacking. Now it's a powerful strategy because you can get in for low down and get the best loans because it's a homeowner occupied loan. You get low interest rates, fixed rate, long-term debt, all that good stuff. So that's what makes it really powerful. So people have been using this strategy to reduce or eliminate their housing expense for generations, but it's just now becoming popular as real estate's got more popular with other videos like this. So the most likely case for house hacking is buying a duplex, living in one unit, and renting out the other. And this is a very digestible strategy because you go through one transaction, you only manage one tenant, so it really lessens your chances for failure. And I mentioned this before, but it's such a great strategy because you get the best loan packages. So you can use an FHA loan or a VA loan like I used and be low out of pocket and get in with a good loan. So the FHA loan is 3.5%, the VA loan is 0%. So talk about getting into a property for next to nothing. So it's a really good way, as long as you find a good deal, to get in, have low money out of pocket, have somebody hold your hand through the experience, manage a tenant, do the whole process, and become a rental property investor. All right, so the next strategy is BURR, and that's B with 4 R's, and it stands for buy, rehab, rent, refinance, and repeat. So the key to this strategy is to provide value. So know what somebody needs and go try to give that to them. Don't just put the ball in their court and expect them to figure out how to use you, because I mean, they could be focused on a million different things and that just is a heavy lift on them to figure out. So do that work up front. So I like to think of this as a 3-step process. So number 1 is find the person that you want to be like or that you want to emulate. The position that they're in, that's number 1. So number 2 is to find what that person needs, and that by having it will make their life a lot easier. Step 3 then is to provide that thing, as long as it's legal, moral, ethical. If they're running a gambling ring or something like that, you might not want to help them with that. But as long as it's something you can do and legally, help them with that. Be that person. Do what they need to get done. And by you helping them, they help you. So that process isn't guaranteed, of course, because it depends on the person. But by finding the right person, finding out what they need and providing value, that's how you can learn kind of everything they need to know. So if you want to be a house flipper, find somebody in your area that's flipping a lot of houses and doing really well and trying to provide value to them. Or if you want to syndicate multifamily properties like I do, find somebody that's syndicating and see what they need and help them with that. I actually did a podcast recently that will be released in the next week or 2 with Sterling White, and he talks about how he did this exact process. He was an apprentice basically to a local real estate investor and got in and ended up building up to 150 single family homes. So it really works. And then he went on to do like 400 more properties. So the apprenticeship model works. You hear about it again and again. People that got in, provided value, and because of that, elevated their own position. So number 3 is the apprenticeship. All right, so the fourth method to get started is one I like a lot too, and this is wholesaling. So this is something I've done myself. I actually started out early on wholesaling properties with kind of a mentor that I was an apprentice to, learning from them. So wholesaling is very simple. It's where you go out, you get a property under contract, and then you sell that contract to an end buyer. So you never actually buy the property. There's ways you can do it, but the most common is getting the contract and selling the contract. So it's just like any traditional wholesale company, you become the middleman. You get the product from the manufacturer, or in this case, the seller, and then distribute that to the end buyer, in this case, the investor. But you have to know where to find good deals, right? So this is where you have to know what motivates people to sell in the first place. So you got to look for lists of properties like divorce lists or probate lists or anything else that would incentivize or motivate a person to sell their property at a discount to you directly without listing it on the MLS. And you'd be surprised how many people really do this, right? They don't know real estate. They're not investors. They're not real estate agents. Maybe they don't completely know the value of their home. So if they have that motivation thinking somebody's getting divorced and they're going to lose the house anyway, they'd love to sell it to you for a discount to get some money before that, whatever that bad situation is, rather than lose the house. Rather than lose the house, and foreclosure is another really good example. So before they lose the house to foreclosure, they'd rather sell it before losing all their equity in it. All right, so you have that list, right? So what do you do next? You got to contact that person, and you can do this by cold calling, by sending mail, or by even knocking on their door, right? You have to contact that person in order to act on their motivation to sell. So once you contact them, that's when you get that property under contract, and then you go find an end buyer who's an investor. You can do that on Facebook Marketplace at your local meetup. But you basically are the middleman connecting the person who's selling and the person who wants good deals. So that's wholesaling in a nutshell. And it's a great low down strategy, but because of that, there's also a lot of actors in the space. So for my market, for example, there's a lot of wholesalers. So competition is fierce because it's easy to get into and there's low barriers of entry. So because of that, some wholesalers have a bad reputation because they take advantage of those motivated sellers and then just don't keep up their end of the bargain, or maybe sell for too high of a price, or it's not a true good off-market deal. So just tread lightly there, kind of look into it, look in your area. But yeah, wholesaling is a great strategy to get started. With no experience at the start, obviously you got to educate, but also with low down. So good one to look into. All right, so the last strategy, number 5 here, is for my people with some capital already. And this is passive investing. And you can do this a couple different ways, but basically passive investing is just, you don't have the time or you're not actually doing the deal, and you have an investor that you trust who's doing deals, you provide them their money in exchange for a return. So there's a couple different ways you can do this. One of these ways is note investing. So you basically buy the debt on a property and become the bank, and every month you get cash flow. And usually these are a little bit lower interest, but they're also lower risk. So it comes with, like anything, risk and reward. And you can also compound this strategy by buying underperforming or distressed debt and buy that note at a discount. And then if it ever forecloses, you can get the asset. I mean, some people want that to happen in note investing, others don't, but it's always your protection that if you're the lien holder and they don't pay, you get the property. The next one is private money lending, and this comes in a couple of different ways too. You could be a private money lender that invests on fix and flip properties or BURR projects where you effectively hold a note on the property, usually at a higher interest rate than just straight up note investing. And you hold that note on the property while it's getting fixed up. And then when that investor sells or refinances, if it's a BURR, you get your money back plus interest. And in most states, what this looks like is a promissory note and a mortgage or a deed of trust, depending on what state you're in. So on several different deals, I've had a promissory note drawn up and then had a mortgage reflect that, because that's how they do it in Florida. And then my investors get paid back when I sell or refinance. And also, as a private money investor or private money lender, you can also partner with people for equity. So I've also done deals where I found the deal, somebody else brought the money, and we just partnered up 50-50, and that's a good cash flowing property for both of us now. And the last private money strategy we'll talk about today is syndication. So this is one I really like, because obviously I provide multifamily syndication, so I think it's a great strategy, maybe a little biased. But in a multifamily syndication or a syndication as a whole, that's where you pool your money with other investors to buy a larger asset. Now, why this is one of my favorite strategies is because you actually get a chunk of the deal. You get a split of all of the equity. So that means all the cash flow that comes from it, all the tax benefits, all the appreciation, and the equity pay down over time. You own a piece of the asset, so you can go see it, touch it, feel it like you actually have this property. So I really like that because I'm the kind of investor that likes cash flow and equity and all those different kinds of things. It's also an amazingly powerful tool for high income earners because of the huge tax benefits you get from investing in syndications. So usually these are larger deals where the depreciation expense, which has taken over 27 and a half years, because you have larger values, that depreciation is a lot larger. So for those high income earners that get taxed really heavily on their high W-2 income, they can use that depreciation and offset it against their earned income and pay less taxes. So they're actually keeping more of what they make. And of course, you still need to know and trust the operator, the syndicator who's actually putting together the deals and see the deal itself. But it's a great strategy. It allows the common investor to invest in real estate and the kind of deals that's usually saved for a more exclusive group or a wealthy group, whatever that situation is. So it allows you as a common investor to buy a bigger chunk or buy a smaller chunk of a bigger asset. So it's more of a exclusive investment group. So it's only really good deals. You can't really log into Robinhood and say, hey, I'd like 3 shares of a syndication, please. No, you have to actually know the investor. But because of that, it's a really great asset, I think, because it's not completely mainstream. So bringing it all together here, those are the 5 ways that I think you can get started with no experience, right? It takes very little education. Of course, you need to educate a little bit, but you don't need real estate experience, right? You don't need to have 100 units to do any of these. As a matter of fact, I got started with house hacking. That was my very first strategy and had no real estate experience. Just had been educated by reading books and listening to Bigger Pockets, things like that. So hopefully this video helps you guys and shows you different ways that you can get started in real estate, the benefits to it. And really what I'm looking for is to just give you the actionable steps, like what do I need to do? So if you guys have other questions on any of these topics, put a question in the comments below and I'll try to answer those. But before you leave here, hit that like and subscribe button, and then I'll see you next time.